it's Kasey Kahne, a NASCAR Busch Series winner for the first time. He takes the Ford 300.
And the Kahne got to the bottom. Kahne comes to the bottom. As he gets a run, he's got a good run on him. Side by side of the line.
When he talked about his first win, at least the good thing is I got the honor of being the guy that they mentioned that he had to race for the win.
And trying to improve his status in the chase for the championship, Kasey Kahne sweeps at Charlotte.
He had been cutting it. Oh, big.
Kasey Kahne gets turned around. Kasey Kahne wins the 13th career win for Kasey Kahne. The checkered flag at Pocono today, Kasey Kahne.
They say after your first win, the rest will come flooding in. Long story short, that did not happen. Crash.
Kasey Kahne is around.
After crash.
And taps the wall.
After crash.
Well, you can go in for a while, you just can't come out.
And throw in a couple engine failures just for good measure. The Evernham 9 just did not have it the rest of the year. And when they weren't DNFing, they just didn't have speed. Kasey was challenging the Rocket Man himself for the most poles in 2004 and was now qualifying sub-30th in 05. He would only get one more top 5 the entire rest of the year, which, of course, was the second at Indianapolis. Kasey's 2005 season totaled up with his breakthrough win, 5 top 5s, 8 top 10s, 2 poles, and 23rd in points. Nowhere close to where they were last year. The average finish cratering from 16.7 to 21.9, helped by the most DNFs in a single season Kasey would ever get in his entire career at 9. With the only thing saving a disastrous season like that being a lone win, was Kasey just a one and done, set to run in the mid-20s for the rest of his career? Not by a long shot. 11th, 4th, 4th, 1st. From the pole, just like last time, with a crushing 2-second lead, and only the 4th race of the season, and he was seated 2nd in points. For the first time since the beginning of his career, it looked like the 9 could really go for it.
A lot of smoke, it's not just one cylinder this time.
Every time before, this kind of setback would kill the whole team's momentum. Not this time.
Win from the front row, the 11th different winner in Texas, Kasey Kahne.
With a second win by 5 seconds and a 6th place to back it up, Kasey Kahne was back up to 3rd. You know, if you kick someone down enough, they'll learn how to stand back up.
The back of the pack as we got a battle for the lead here. Kasey Kahne in the 9 car got a great run off first forward.
Kasey Kahne's
And here you see a good example of it
right there.
I'll say 9 car.
Now that's a good race car right there.
It doesn't matter, top or bottom.
You got it. And here comes Kasey with a white flag. One more time there, bud. He got it in the bag. Here he comes. Engine number 9 brings it to the finish line. Kasey Kahne wins the Coke 600. They got racing.
Now he's got a problem, Matt. What is it?
Because the water temperature has climbed well over 200. He is coming down pit road. He's peeled off.
That 9 car, Larry, is coming back to the front with a vengeance. We've got a battle for the lead right now.
Had problems and had to fight his way back to the front. Kasey Kahne does the same today. 76 laps to go in the 3M Performance 400. We are slowed again by a rain shower.
You see more rain starting to fall. It is getting dark here. We've had the threat of rain all afternoon. That's Kasey Kahne. The camera's following him. It is official, and that's your winner. Kasey Kahne walking in the rain.
I'll tell you one thing, I'd sleep with that race car. That's his 4th win. If I was Kasey Kahne, I wouldn't let that thing out of my sight.
Kasey Kahne, what a great recovery by you and your race team. Getting up into the wall in happy hour yesterday. What does it feel like to win here in Michigan?
It's pretty crazy, really, to win in the rain. Be in the right spot there at the end. But we did have the best car. There was a lot of good cars, but we fought our way back to the front.
And I am the keeper of the click. All right. And I want to show you what I can do with my new toy.
I'm
I'd like to fast forward Jamie McMurray's career with Roush. I mean, folks, they hired him to win, and he better do it soon. You know who I'd like to slow-mo? Kasey Kahne. The kid is having an incredible year. Let's all enjoy it.
While it lasts. Because after that, Kasey's speed would fade rapidly. 2006 was the beginning of the slow, brutal end to the Evernham team, with their second car, the 19 of Jeremy Mayfield, collapsing in on itself for a variety of reasons, as well as them taking on the task of a third entry with Scott Riggs in the 10. It was all bleeding into the 9. Through the next 7 races, Kasey would finish inside the top 20 only once, and slipped rapidly from 3rd to outside the 10 driver chase entirely. The cutoff was closing fast and the pressure was mounting. They managed to claw and scrape together a few good runs over the summer. 4th at Michigan, 12th at Bristol, and despite a speeding penalty early on, with Reed Sorensen, of all people, running out of gas with a lap and a half to go at Fontana, Kasey even managed to win again, but it still wasn't enough to break past 11th. Heading into Richmond for the cutoff race, Kasey just needed one more good finish to beat Tony Stewart out for the last transfer spot. And at the checkered flag,
At Bristol. At Richmond.
Where are we, Bill?
We're Richmond.
You big
I got
dummy.
too excited.
with Stewart only mustering an 18th compared to Kasey's 3rd, the 9 was in, the 20 was out, and Kasey made the chase for the very first time. Now, with the playing field leveled, it was time for the 9 to chase a championship. A 16th at Loudon was enough to leave Jimmie Johnson and Kyle Busch, who both had issues, and move them up to 8th. And then back down to 9th because Dover is where dreams come to die. And then 10th because Kansas is also where dreams come to die. At this point it wasn't looking good, but a second place run at Talladega at least brought some momentum to the table. Being 185 points out of the lead though, the hope of a title was pretty much already over. But that doesn't mean there isn't a point in trying. Kasey started on the front row for race 31 at Charlotte, and just flat out left the whole field in the dust. 134 of the 334 laps were led by the 9. Haven't we done this before? The powerhouses of Hendrick tried to stop him, but if there was any year for Kasey to defy the odds in the race that he should have won 2 years ago, this was it. And after taking the lead away from Jimmie Johnson with 26 to go, he never looked back. And under the lights of Charlotte, North Carolina, Kasey would avenge his 2004 robbery and nab his 6th and final win of the year. Through the rest of the chase, Kasey Kahne would trade 10th, 9th, and 8th with Mark Martin and Kyle Busch. With a pole and one last top 5 to end the season at Homestead, Kasey managed to end his 2006 run in 8th. It may not have really been close to a title contending season for the majority of the time, but it was still a career year for Kahne. 6 wins, 6 poles, 12 top 5s, 19 top 10s, and 8th in the final standings, with a much better than last year 15.5 average finish. So remember how I said that Evernham was beginning its decline? 2007 started off decent enough with a 7th place finish in the Daytona 500, but then...
And at Kasey Kahne, we're guessing engine problems?
Over. It started up, but that don't mean much. It don't have no power.
Oh, Kasey Kahne is around.
And it just never got better from there. For the next 13 races, Kasey would not crack the top 10. And the one he did just so happened to be the next Daytona race. At this point, he was down to 26th in points, with only 7 top 20 finishes in the first 18 races. And it wouldn't get any better after that either. By the time race 22 at Watkins Glen came around, with the 10 and the 19 doing just as bad, the Evernham team as a whole was looking pretty depressing. They needed a change, and it would come in the form of George Gillette, owner of a hockey and soccer team, buying out the majority part ownership of Evernham Motorsports. He was to handle the business end of operations so Ray Evernham could focus on the performance side, and the team would be officially rebranded to Gillette Evernham Motorsports, or just GEM for short. And you know what? It worked! Just 2 races later, Kasey scored his 2nd pole of the season at Bristol and had his first top 5 run. In true Kasey fashion, being a 2nd after leading the most laps of the race. He'd follow it up with 2 more top 10s in a row. and was up 5 points positions in only 3 races. When the 2007 season wrapped up at Homestead, Kahne had notched another 3 top 10s and had clawed his way up to 19th in points. In the first 21 races, he had an average finish of 25.2. Compared to the last 15 races post-Gillette buyout, his average was 17.9, a huge improvement. Had he run like that the whole season, he would have been a fringe chase contender. Overall, Kasey ended 2007 with 2 poles, 1 top 5, 8 top 10s, and 19th in the standings, with a total 22.2 average finish. On a different side of the garage, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was announced to be leaving his team at DEI for Hendrick Motorsports in 2008. His sponsor Budweiser, however, wasn't going to be following him over, and wouldn't be staying with DEI either. So they went looking for a new driver, and set their sights on Kasey Kahne. Problem was, Dodge was still planning on keeping their primary partnership, but with a little sweet-talking by Evernham and some financial strain on the Chrysler Company, they relinquished their spot and the GM number 9 would be donned with a similar bright red, but with a brand new sponsor. And to kick it off, 2008 started off strong as Kasey got 3 top 10s in a row and was 3rd in points. And then, in true Kasey Kahne fashion, he quickly fell from the podium to 13th over the next 8 races, just outside the now 12 driver chase. However, the next weekend was the Charlotte double of the All-Star race in the Coke 600. If by now Charlotte hadn't been firmly established as Kasey's best track, it sure as hell would be tonight.
Kasey Kahne, through the fan vote, started dead last. He has now cracked the top 10. That 9 will not quit fighting on the high side, though. He's going to pull up to the back of the 11 car.
The thing is blowing up. I believe we are done. Remember now, the 22.
There he goes. Kasey Kahne, the fan favorite, wins the Sprint All-Star race.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing on Memorial Day, boys.
For the lead, Kasey Kahne around the outside of a slip-sliding Dale Jr. Kasey Kahne's trying to become only the 3rd driver to win the All-Star race and the Coke 600 in the same year.
It's showtime, baby.
That's Stewart. He hit the wall in 2.
Kasey Kahne in the 9 car. He's going to take the lead. We'll be coming back to 2 laps to go for this 9 car.
Comes off the corner, and Kasey Kahne wins the Coke 600.
Pace car to pit road, 500 miles at Pocono. They're going green on TNT. This is for 6th right here.
Hang on, I'm just going to interrupt my own montage here. I just want to mention Scott Riggs is 6th on speed. He qualified 9th. Anyway.
Kasey Kahne, 6 Pocono starts. He has just 1 top 10 finish. Trying to do a little bit better than that today. The pole winner's going to take the checkers. Kasey Kahne wins at Pocono.
With 2 wins now on the season and then a 2nd place run the next week at Michigan, Kasey had made his way back up into 7th. With 3 7th place runs the next week to even out some poor finishes, he'd maintain that position heading into the final few races before the chase. And then, in true Kasey fashion...
Okay, big crash down here.
Another chain reaction crash. Kasey Kahne involved. The 11 car involved Denny Hamlin. Casey Mears involved.
Kasey Kahne, this is going to be a big blow for him in points.
And just like that, the 9 teams' work was erased and he was back down in 14th. And 8th and 19th in the final 2 races just wasn't enough to climb back up, and Kasey Kahne would just barely miss the 2008 chase in 13th. It was around this time that rumors of a merger started to swirl around Evernham and a couple other teams. Because while you see Kasey may have been winning races, the rest of the team was still in shambles. Kasey was top 15 all year, but Elliott Sadler in the 19 was back in 24th, and Patrick Carpentier in the 10 was well outside the top 35 in owners' points, having to qualify in every race. This would reach a breaking point at Talladega for race 30 of the season. The Evernham team as a whole completely and utterly botched the setup, and all 3 cars would have DNQ'd without the top 35 rule. All except Carpentier, who didn't have that luxury. Long story short, Mike Chaplette, the crew chief for the 10, verbally abused Carpentier when he got back to the hauler, with the door wide open for everyone to hear, and it was Carpentier that got fired for DNQing at Talladega. The whole thing was a mess. The team was starting to crumble again, and by now Kasey had dropped to 14th in points, with only 1 more top 10 during the last stretch of races. Despite pandemonium, Kasey did manage to end the season with a 6th place at Homestead though, so at least it didn't end on too sour of a note. Kasey's 2008 season totaled up with 2 wins plus the All-Star, 2 poles, 4 top 5s, 14 top 10s, and 14th in the final standings, with an 18.1 average finish. And with that, Kasey Kahne had ended his final season with Evernham Motorsports. That's how you say it?
Driver, but behind him, PJ Jones and Patrick Carpentier.
Carpentier? Carpentier? Hey, there's the 36. Carpentier. Terry Labonte's in the 55. What the f do you mean it's pronounced Carpentier? Oh, hey, Sorensen's running 8th. Look at that. How does that work?